Hello, I'm Scott Brady with Expedition Portal and Overland Journal, and I am here at our Prescott test track where we're evaluating the 2021 GMC Sierra HD AT4. Now that seems like a mouthful, but it's because it has a lot of content in a vehicle like this. So it comes with the Duramax V8 turbo diesel that makes 950 foot-pounds of torque, and it's mated up with a 10-speed automatic transmission. This particular pairing is not only one of the most fun to drive in the segment, but it's also one of the most powerful as well. But what makes it an AT4? The AT4 is GMC's off-road division, where they try to apply additional technology and solutions towards the off-road needs of their buyers. This particular truck comes with a 34-inch diameter all-terrain tire. It has a factory 2-inch lift. It has a mechanical locking differential in the rear. It has an available off-road mode traction control as well. It has cast aluminum side rails that can easily take an impact on an earthen mound, for example. It also has a Rancho suspension system front and rear. But what really sets the GMC apart from the others in the segment? We've been compiling a lot of testing recently for a big article that's coming out in Overland Journal where we compare all of the full-size trucks in the segment. But what makes GMC different? What makes this truck different from the others? And it really comes down to ride quality. This vehicle drives like a half-ton pickup compared to the other ones that drive kind of like a train on a track. I mean, there is very little suspension travel in a lot of these full-size trucks. And it's not to say that this has a lot of articulation, but what it does have is overall travel and compliance. It's more softly sprung in the rear, a better dampening overall with the softer Rancho shocks. It's got also a lighter spring rate in the front. But that doesn't mean that they go light on payload. In fact, this vehicle has one of the highest payloads in the segment at over 3,000 pounds for a 3/4 ton variant. All right, so we're checking out the 2021 GMC Sierra HD 2500. Now this is the AT4 package. So it comes from the factory, with a bunch of off-road goodies. So it's got a 2-inch factory lift. It's got longer overall travel. It's got a mechanical locking rear differential, traction control, Rancho shock absorbers, a better approach angle. In fact, it's got a 27-degree front approach angle, which is a significant improvement over the other Sierra HDs. It seems to have plenty of ground clearance. The 34-inch tires also really help. They're not overly aggressive, but they are an all-terrain. And the big thing that you notice right out of the gate with any of the GMC HD trucks is a significant improvement in ride quality. So if I was going over this same terrain right now in, like, let's say the Ford Tremor, it would be abusive. We would really feel it. It would really be bouncing and jarring, and it's difficult for the driver to maintain concentration and accuracy in their line selection because they're kind of getting bounced all around the cab. Whereas this 2500 HD, it kind of drives like a typical 1500. It's got really good compliance in the front suspension, being independent. And then the overall ride tuning is just very comfortable on the trail. So there are a bunch of things that we always look for when we test a vehicle in slow speed, technical terrain. What we're really looking for is driver confidence. That's the overarching theme that we're really looking for. And in this particular case, we're looking, as I go up this hill, we're looking to see what is the throttle modulation like? How easy is it to maintain forward progress in a very smooth manner? Because we don't want to disrupt traction. We don't want to lose traction or cause the vehicle to start to bounce or move off of its line. So how easy is it to modulate the throttle? And when you've got 950 foot-pounds of torque and really good throttle tuning, so I can even stop on the hill just using the throttle pedal alone. And I can maintain the vehicle on this hill using the torque converter and what it is effectively a 42-to-1 low range. And then I can slowly feed throttle in again and begin to climb. And that's what I'm really looking for. And then what I want to start to be able to do is start to bring on some left foot braking as well. So I'm going to start to cover the brake with my left foot, applying a little bit of brake pressure. And then I'm going to be modulating my speed with a combination of left foot braking and right foot throttle modulation. And that now gives me the ultimate control of the vehicle in slow speed technical terrain. Now, why is that important? This is a big truck. we're not talking about a Jeep Wrangler. So this is a vehicle with 150-inch plus wheelbase. It's got large overall dimensions, limited breakover angle. So we want to drive very slow through technical terrain, minimizing bounce and maximizing our available ground clearance. All right, so we're doing our breakover challenge. This is a perfect little mound that I have on our test course, and it really gives us a sense of the available ground clearance, the functional ground clearance of the vehicle. I kind of expect this is going to ground out, but we'll see if that 2-inch lift really helps it.
Oh, you're almost there. There it is.
So it very light dirt scrape as we came over the mound. That surprises me. I was expecting it to ground out. One of the things that I noticed with this GMC is that it has good overall ground clearance, but there's quite a few components that hang down below the frame that are vulnerable. Some of them protect, like for example, the DEF fluid tank and the fuel tank and some of the other components underneath the vehicle. Some of them are skid plated, but it is important to keep in mind there are a few of those more vulnerable components hanging down below the frame. So we also like to test hill descent control and overall brake modulation, because that again gives drivers confidence when we're off-road. And we use this particularly steep hill. It's probably about a 26, 27 degree downslope. And we use that to evaluate the hill descent control. So we go into our lowest available transmission gear in low range, and we're at the top of the hill. We select hill descent control. And then I cover the brake just in case something isn't working right. And we kind of let the truck figure it out as it goes down. So very slow and controlled. A lot of these systems are also controllable by the cruise control, which allows us to go even slower. So we're creeping along. It's not even registering the speed on the speedometer. It's a fairly quiet system too. A lot of these can be very noisy or intrusive into the cabin. And it's pretty smooth operation. So we can see this is definitely a next generation version of hill descent control for GMC. So one of the things we always test on our test track is crossed axle performance. So we're looking for how the traction control system performs. We're looking for a couple things. We're looking for effectiveness, like how easily does it get through the obstacle? If it continues to function under left foot braking, how quickly does it respond? Does it allow us to get through the terrain, and then how quickly does it respond? In this particular case, we're getting quite a bit of wheel spin out of it before the traction control starts to intervene. Now it is working, and it actually bounced a little bit, the vehicle hopped a little bit, but it did effectively allow us to get through the ditch. And now we've got a lot of wheel lift in the rear. Again, you expect limited articulation from a full-size 3/4 ton pickup, and that's the case here as well. All right, so one of the things that we also like to check is side slope stability. And typically on a full-size truck, that's going to be really good. Like right now, we're at about 19 degrees of side slope, and the vehicle feels really stable. And what we're looking for is suspension. We call it suspension pop, which means that it suddenly unsettles or unloads either in the front or the rear. This very long wheelbase helps to prevent most of that, but it is fairly tied down as a suspension. It's not a long travel suspension in any regard, but even at 23 degrees of side slope right now, the vehicle feels very stable. So overall, this GMC really comes down to ride comfort, overall driving comfort, high-speed stability, payload, and towing capacity. So if your overland travels require hauling a camper, a large trailer, or you're bringing a lot of payload along with you, you want to consider the GMC 2500 HD AT4.